If you were to ask who the best girl in Elden Ring is, you'll likely get a couple answers. Many will say Ranni, just as many might say Melina, and then there's those guys who say that Rotussy is to die for. But you're all wrong, because the only acceptable answer is the sorceress Sellen. My objective throughout this video will be to prove my point with my comedic lack of evidence. Before we start, I need to set out the rules for this challenge. 1. I have to do the entirety of Sorceress Sellen's questline and she must survive. 2. I can only use spells and I must give her all of the scrolls and buy all possible spells from her. With the rules set out, let's begin. Here is our champion, and he is pretty handsome if I do say so myself, and I will be helping him to swoon the beautiful Sellen. The starting class I chose is Astrologer, and of course I took no keepsake. With the real game now beginning, I of course dap up the dead body in the room with me, and then I leave, and then jump off a cliff. Now that we're actually in the lands between, let's start with some game setup. I first headed to the gatefront side of Grace to meet with Melina, where I'm pressured into an agreement despite my preferences, but the trick is on her, as I am merely using her as a tool. With my full potential unlocked, I follow my nose to the Waypoint Ruins, where I find this bitch-ass Pumpkinhead. He thinks that he can stop me, and he almost does, but it's a win, and we take those. Now I get to meet my queen and her glorious feat. She is the Graven Witch who was exiled from Rhea Lucaria for her crimes against fellow sorcerers, allegedly. I ask her if she'd be willing to teach me magic, and she agrees after warning me about her alleged criminal activities. But I mean, she seems too nice to have done any of that. So after browsing her offerings, I realized that I need to bring her as many sorcery scrolls as possible. Luckily, while looting Limgrave, I found the Royal House scroll at the nearby ruins, and then promptly returned to my beloved to give her the scroll and buy the spells. My current objective is to collect all of the scrolls in the game, but most of them are found in Liurnia, and before I can head to Liurnia, there are some things that I need to take care of in Limgrave, like grabbing the Physic Flask, which I'll never use, both golden seeds and starlight shards, and the green turtle talisman. I may have also defiled a couple graveyards, but that's neither here nor there. Then I see it, the Bridge of Sacrifice, and I cannot deny the allure of the Weeping Peninsula, so let's go on a quick side quest. At first I thought it'd be really funny to get one of the Godric soldiers killed by the explosive crossbow, and it was, but I don't know if it was really worth almost being put on a t-shirt. Once across the bridge, I knew that there was someone I just had to visit, as there's no way I can let there be a magic user stronger than me on this peninsula. Me and the Queen Horsewoman had quite the duel, but she was no match for me, as she may have a higher quality of brain cells, I have a higher quantity. Wait a minute, what does that mean? In my moment of self-doubt, the voices crept in and told me to kill the innocent children. So unless you like the video right now, then I will kill this demi-human child. Are you gonna do it? Okay, thanks for the like, but I never said anything about the guy behind him. Now that I'm the dominant magic user in the peninsula, I can go about my business grabbing sacred tears, golden seeds, and a memory stone, when I eventually catch a strong scent that draws me in like a cartoon pie. I arrive at the source of the scent, Witchbane Ruins, a real shithole, but underneath what I find is unthinkable. This poor woman is chained to the wall with magic, and even worse, it seems to be Sellen's twin sister. But I'm honestly more shocked that she didn't tell me she had a sister. I mean, I thought we were closer. Well, I try and help her, but she's in some sort of trance where she's unaware of the world around her, and she just keeps talking about the degenerates, which are a faction I have yet to hear about, but I'll be sure to keep a lookout for them. Anyways, I can't wake her from her slumber. I mean, I tried everything. I even tickled her feet, but no luck. Well, that's a shame. It would have been really cool to reunite Sellen with her sister. But alas, we must move on for our beloved Sellen. There is one last thing I want to grab before we leave the Weeping Peninsula and move forward on our quest, and that's the sacrificial axe. So I killed the deathbird, and when I hold this axe in my hand and kill something, I can feel an immense power flow through me. So I keep it on me most of the time. Once I head back to Limgrave, I'm hit with a sudden encounter with this weird lady who says she's been watching me and starts asking me questions. I just nod my head as it's the courteous thing to do after all, and her name is Ranni, and I have a weird feeling she might play a role later in our story. I talked with Sellen one last time to buy some more spells before heading off into Liurnia in search of knowledge and my teacher's approval. We get off to a good start as we find a man who seems to have gone to school with my beloved, but he's kind of weird, but he does tell us that we need to find a glintstone key if we want to enter the academy. And that seems like the best place to go if you wanted to find scrolls. I mean, it's not like we're just gonna find one lying around in the local bone orchard. I then proceeded to find the academy scroll in the nearby graveyard. After stumbling around the lakes while being harassed by oversized crawfish, I sit down at a site of grace, and then I'm subsequently abducted and dragged off kicking and screaming to the round table hold. While there, I was coaxed into talking to the locals like Gideon, and he's an asshole. So I got out of there as soon as I could and got back to Liurnia, where I grabbed the Academy Glintstone key from a random dragon that was guarding it, as dragons have no use for keys. Continuing north, I got to the King's Realm ruins where I spoke to this big lad before continuing even further north into the ravine where I grabbed a golden seed and marked this site of grace. Now let's get back to the academy. After I passed through the barrier, I grabbed another seed before heading into the academy. Now I do need to address something very unfortunate, and that is the fact that I was unable to find Sellen's seat, so no sniffs, but I did find the Conspectus scroll. I also found this glintstone crown and I just loved it, so I wear it sometimes. So after looting the academy, I headed back to my beloved Sellen and showed her what I had found. She was quite impressed, so after buying some more spells, I left her, but stayed in Limgrave as there was something I needed to grab, which is the Arrow's Reach Talisman, which if you didn't know, actually increases the effective range of spells like it does with arrows. Next on our checklist is to head back into Liurnia to start plotting my infiltration of Ranni's inner circle and to bring about her disappearance. We start by avoiding the magic mortar fire and making our way through grabbing the golden seed before facing the boss, Loretta. And I hope her magic resistance isn't a sign of future problems. That would really suck. With the ghost of Loretta vanquished, we can meet up with the Smurf and trick her into letting us join her fan club. Of course, I talk with all the spectral idiots, but let's move on. Celibus has a little job for me with a pretty nice reward. A job that would end up being quite the pain. He wants me to roofie Nefeli and turn her into his sex puppet. But that's kind of weird, but regardless, I need to find her. So that was when I headed into Stormvale Castle, because that's where she is. But that's wrong, and you're an idiot, because she automatically moves to the round table hold once you enter Liurnia. So I did all that for no reason. Hey, at least I got to teabag Margit. Returning to the round table hold, I'm met with the startling realization that Gideon is refusing to talk to me as my social credit score is too low. You don't even know how close I was to turning Nefeli into a semen receptacle, just to spite Gideon, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I need a break from Gideon's dumbass to cool off, so let's get Ranni's questline moving. I talked to Blythe and he told me to ask Celibus for help, and he told me he knew somebody who could help me. My beloved Sellen. So I went and talked to her, and I'm pretty sure I'd be really angry if I knew how to spell implication. Sellen tells me that I must face Starscourge Radahn to free Ranni from her current state, as the fate of the stars are being held in place. Spoiler alert, but if you didn't know, killing Radahn is what will set Sellen's fate in motion as well, and that's why we're doing all this. I return to Blythe and give him the news, and he's surprisingly jovial with the fact that we're gonna have to kill a literal demigod, and then he heads off. I go my own way as there's something I need to do, and that's kill Godric, so I do that. Not much to say there, but I use the runes to increase my vigor. After that, I'm now able to pass Gideon's social credits check and give him the potion before returning to Celibus and shocking him with the fact that his evil plan in fact did not work. Then, for the hell of it, I raided his workshop and found quite a few puppets. I talked to Celibus about it and he forces one onto me, so I take Jarman. Celibus has an evil plan in the works, but he needs some time, so I head off to proactively complete his next task. Returning to the ravine in northern Liurnia, I start making my way up, killing midgets and decreasing the employment rate along the way. Eventually, I get to the top, and what a nice surprise this is. It's a doggy. It's a rather easy fight, and honestly I'm kinda disappointed. Wait a minute, why does he look like— holy shit, I think bro heard me. Well, that was rather frightening, but let's move on and continue forward straight into some nice Dragusi, before getting to the Altus Plateau proper, where I find the nearest inhuman abomination I think I can beat up and do it, getting the ritual sword talisman for my effort. After that, it's just the standard grab all the seeds and tears before I get what I really came here for, which is the Amber Starlight Shard. With it in hand, I return to Celovis and he forces me to purchase another puppet that I don't even want. Then he says that he wants to bring me in on his ploy, which is to turn Ranni, who is already a doll, into his puppet. For some reason, I just don't see that working out, but I don't really care as I got what I wanted from him, the magic scorpion charm. Before the big fight with Radahn, I return to Sellen one more time to purchase all the spells that she has left for now. Then I depart for the Radahn festival where I meet Blyde and this real cool guy named Jaren, who kinda looks like a garden gnome. It would be a real shame if we ever did become enemies. So then I took part in the festival and we eventually defeated Radahn, and well, we really didn't think through the possible repercussions of having all the stars he was holding back released at once, but now Mistwood has a hole in it. Before I went to the crater, I talked to Jaren, and he mentioned that he had some matters to attend to. Maybe he's going to get the groceries? Well, now it's time to go caving, and see what we can find in this hole. We find pale albino midgets, living silly putty, and a pretty cool knife, so not too shabby. This knife is apparently really important, and Ranni really wants it, so I give it to her, and then she's gone. Let's get back to Sellen, and there's one more string holding her destiny back. So let's cut it. I venture into Mount Gilmer and spoke to primeval sorcerer Azur, or I guess just stared into his eyes. He gave me Comet Azur, one of the spells of all time. Now I can return to Sellen and show her what I found, and she's quite proud of me. Some might even say it would be a fridge-worthy moment. She goes on to ask me to go on a journey to restore the primeval current with her, and I say yes, so now we're basically married. She even says that we're kindred spirits. There is something that she doesn't know though, and that's the fact that I am a 5th dimensional being and that I know that this path will lead her to ruin, so I'll never actually allow her to achieve her goal no matter how much she may want to. She then tells me that she is in fact not in front of me and that she's actually just a projection, and that she wants me to visit her real body down in the Weeping Peninsula. So I do, and oh, this wasn't her sister, this is her real body. But I never did find out who the degenerates were. She then asked me to take her primal glintstone so that she can be freed from her shackles. She gives me the go-ahead and I take it. So now I can officially say that I have been all up in Sellen's guts. With my virginity lost, I leave this place in search of a new body for my queen. I think on it and then I return to the Witchbane ruins to ask Sellen what kind of body she would like. But I find Witch Hunter Jaren standing over her dead body. This is what he must have meant when he said he had something he needed to do. The name makes a lot more sense now, but now I'm stuck figuring out this whole problem by myself. As for Jaren, my revenge has no expiration date. Back to thinking, and I think as hard as I have ever thunk before, and I get an idea. Maybe Celovis has a puppet he'll let me use. So I head over to ask him, and oh, it looks like his plan didn't end up working out, but now that he's dead I can go through his stuff because dead people don't have property rights. That's why you're legally allowed to evict a ghost. I look through his workshop and I can't seem to find one that fits. This one's no good, this one's too short, and this one has a penis. Just as I'm about to give up, I find an illusionary wall, and behind it, the perfect puppet body. Almost too perfect, but who cares? Putting in Sellen's primal glintstone like a VHS tape, the puppet comes to life, and my beloved Sellen is back to life. And now that she's free, she swears to return to the academy, so that's what we do. When we arrive at the debate hall, it becomes very clear that they have no plans to reinstate my wife's job. I mean, they sick the dogs on us, and while I generally love animals, this one's an exception. With the dog dead, Sellen and I are free to take control of the academy. And you might be asking, wait a minute, what about Renala? We're not going to talk about Renala, just know she was taken care of. Finally, we can dispose of Witch Hunter Jaren for the crime of touching my beloved's body. We fight, and it's not even close, as with the power of love we strike him down. With that, me and Sellen are free to reign over Raya Lucaria. As a symbol of our love, Sellen gives me the Glintstone Chris, and offers to teach me the spell Shard Spiral. Sellen wishes me the best of luck in my quest of becoming Elden Lord, but alas, that is a story for another day, as our story comes to a close. But wait a minute, there's one last thing to do. We head to Renna's Rise and use a teleporter to get to the Angel River main, where I collect the Ranni doll, and after that, my objective is clear. With help from Alexander, we can seal off this evil forever inside the good old jar. Well, let me know how you felt about this video, and if it gets a good response, then I'll make more like it in the future. Other than that, it'd be great if you left a like as it helps in the algorithm, and subscribe if you'd like to help me reach 1,000 subs. Finally, I just want to thank anybody hearing this, as it means a lot, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Peace.